Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here with another Master Duel video for you guys. So yesterday we took a look at Adventure Phantom Knight's games. Now I'm going to do a Adventure Phantom Knight combo guide for you guys because I was thinking about kind of what I said in the last video where we did some games, and the games were nice because they showed off some non-linear lines and that they showed what to do when your opponent has some disruption or you have to interact with the opponent's board. But I kind of felt like it didn't do the greatest job showing of like what to do just standardly. And I do feel like yes, it is always nice to know what to do when your opponent has things to stop or try to stop you, but it's also nice to know what to do as a baseline. We got to have that baseline knowledge. I think that's the most important thing to get down first, and then we can tackle like more advanced stuff like disruptions. So plus I hadn't updated the combo guide for Phantom Knights since Adventure had come out, so I kind of am going through some of the decks that I haven't done updated combo guides for. I've kind of been doing that this season and banging those out. So yeah, so this combo guide is going to specifically be for the adventure build of Phantom Knights that is also using the Scythe lock. This is, from what I can tell, one of the more common variants of, it might even be the most common variant of Phantom Knight right now. And it's the one I like the most, and I do think it's probably just the strongest one. There are still lots of different ways to play Phantom Knights though. You can still use Dark Requiem, you can still use Rongominad, you can still use F-Zero. These are all things that are definitely more than viable for the deck still at this time. Now, I don't plan on showing all those off in this combo guide because actually in the last combo guide I did for Phantom Knights, we went into how to make Dark Requiem, F-Zero, and Rongominad. So I will link that in the description. If that's the kind of information you're looking for, you'll definitely want to check that out there. But this one is going to specifically be for the adventure variant. I kind of touched upon this during the deck profile yesterday, but it's interesting how for Phantom Knights, the adventure variant is not just, it really is its own variant of like combos within this archetype, unlike other decks that kind of tack on the adventure lines onto already existing plays. Phantom Knights can actually use the adventure engine to further their own plays or make like different plays that they weren't able to before. So that is definitely something to be mindful of, and it's definitely something we're going to see lots of examples of in these combos coming up. So as always as ever, I want to go ahead and start by going through the deck list itself before we jump into the combos, just to make sure that we're establishing the list. I feel like that's important even in combo guides and not just gameplay videos, so that you know exactly what we have to work with here. Of course, at the beginning of each combo, I'll be sure to state, here's what you need for the combo in order to do this particular play, but just so we can have a point of reference of what we're working with, generally speaking. So, we are playing 3 Maxx, 1 the Phantom Knights of Ancient Cloak, 3 the Phantom Knights of Silent Boot, 1 the Phantom Knights of Ragged Glove, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 2 the Phantom Knights of Torn Scales, 2 Water Enchantress of the Temple, 1 Destiny Hero Celestial, 1 Destiny Hero Dasher, 1 Wandering Griffin Rider, 1 Nibiru the Primal Being, 1 Foolish Burial, 1 Reinforcement of the Army, 2 Fusion Destiny, 2 Rite of Aramesir, 1 Dracoback the Rideable Dragon, 1 Fateful Adventure, 2 Called by the Grave, 3 Crossout Designator, 2 Forbidden Droplet, 1 the Phantom Knight's Wing, 1 the Phantom Knights of Shade Brigandine, 1 Infinite Impermanence, and then 2 Phantom Knights Fogblade. The extra deck is going to have 1 Destiny Hero Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer, 1 Leviair the Sea Dragon, 2 Phantom Knights of Breaksword rather, 1 Raider's Knight, 1 Arc Rebellion Xyz Dragon, 1 Divine Arsenal Zeus Sky Thunder, 1 Link Spider, 1 Salman Great Almirage, 1 Trubni Ebon Angel of the Burning Abyss, 1 Artifact Dagda, 1 Predaplant Vert Anaconda, 1 the Phantom Knights of Rusty Bardish, 1 Appaloosa Bow of the Goddess, and then finally 1 Access Code Talker. So now that we know what is all on the deck, let's take a look at some combos and see what the deck can spit out. Okay, so I wanted to start off by showing some actually a little bit less than standard combos, but I like to show off like 1 card combos and then 2 card combos typically. So This deck is actually capable of doing some one-card combos. They're not like the main lines like you would see like with Adventure Prank Kid or like we saw with like Ad Ignister recently, but there are still plays you can definitely do. And if you've wondered why the extra deck has Link Spider and Salmon Great Almirage, which seem like kind of like random cards, these are actually to facilitate some one-card plays, which can definitely be useful. Now, as always, as ever with my combo guides, we're going to only focus on what you can do for specific combos. So, given the adventure cards we have in our hand, we could probably actually get away with doing some, definitely get away with doing some other things here with this hand. But let's pretend the only live relevant card in our hand is just this Phantom Knight Silent Boots, right? We're going to start by normal summoning the Silent Boots here. We can then use the normal summoned Silent Boots as a material to summon our Salmon Great Almirage, which I just mentioned. Alright, now that our Boots is in the graveyard, we can use its graveyard effect to banish it in order to add a Phantom Knight spell or trap card from our deck to our hand. We're going to add the Phantom Knights of Shade Brigandine. We can then set this Phantom Knights of Shade Brigandine, and unlike most trap cards, the Shade Brigandine can actually be activated the turn you set it, as long as you have no trap cards in your graveyard. So we can activate it, and then once activated, the Shade Brigandine can treat itself as a normal monster on the field with some negligible stats, but we're mostly interested in just linking it off for the Link Spider here. Because it is treated as a normal monster, we can use it as a material for Link Spider, and as such we need to go to the Link Spider before we can go into good old Vert Anaconda. As always, as ever, with most decks that run DPE, kind of tends to be, I even mentioned this I think in yesterday's video, DPE is kind of like the fallback play for this deck, like it is for most decks that include it. So, you know, if all else fails and you only have a Boots, I use the Boots, but you can also use Cloak as well. If you have Phantom Knight's Ancient Cloak, you can send that off for the Almirage. In that case, you would just again add the Shade Brigandine, because Cloak can add any Phantom Knight's card, not just spell and traps like Boots does. But then, you know, obviously the drill from here, right? We use Vert Anaconda's effect, pay 2,000, send the Fusion Destiny, summon DPE using Dasher and Celestial, and drop it like, I don't know, right, there we go, right over there. So yeah, again, if you open Ancient Cloaks or Silent Boots, that by itself is enough to establish a DPE. But again, you do need to be playing Link Spider and Salmon Great Almirage in your extra deck. This deck is actually one where extra deck space, depending on what you're trying to play in the main deck, can get a bit tight, so sometimes it can be a bit difficult to find room for them. But if you're playing this Adventure Scythelock variant, I don't think it's very difficult to find the space at all. I do think it is very, very much worth it. Alright, now that we have established that, let's take a look at the next combo. Okay, so much like Cloak and Boots by themselves are a play, the Phantom Knights of Torn Scales, which is definitely the best Phantom Knights monster to open with, and is going to be the start of many of these combos. This by itself, well, I say by itself, with any other card to discard, is also a play, but it's actually even a little bit better than Cloak and Boots, as the Torn Scales by itself can actually set up the whole Scythelock there. So I'll show you how to do that. We're going to start by normal summoning our Torn Scales, then we're going to activate the Torn Scales effect. Now here's the thing, if you are planning on using the adventure line, make sure that you are not activating the Torn Scales effect when you normal summon it. If you are planning on using the adventure stuff, you have to wait until you special summon it later in the turn in order to be able to do that. But for this play, again, we're going to assume we don't have this Rite of Aramesir in hand, and that the only live card is in fact this Torn Scales. So, in fact, we'll even just discard the Rite with the Torn Scales. We're going to use that in order to set up the Ancient Cloak in our graveyard. Now we can use our Torn Scales and link it away in order to summon our Salmon Great Almirage. And now from here we can use the effect of the Ancient Cloak we just sent in order to add the Silent Boots from our deck to our hand. Now because a Phantom Knight card in our graveyard got banished and Torn Scales is under our graveyard, Torn Scales can then summon itself back from the graveyard. So we'll toss the Torn Scales right over here, and of course because we control a Phantom Knight's monster, we can special summon the Silent Boots from our hand as well. And because now we control 2 level 3 monsters, we can overlay them for our rank 3 Leviair the Sea Dragon. Just throw that right over there. Alright, now we're going to activate Leviair's effect to bring back the Ancient Cloak. Now, it usually, for most combos, doesn't really matter what you banish here, but I like to banish the one whose graveyard effect I've not used yet, so that way I can, well, then use it later. So, I'll banish this, or I'll detach the Silent Boots, rather. I said banish. I think I meant to say, I think I said banish, rather. I meant to say detach. So, we're going to bring the Ancient Cloak back. Now, extremely, extremely, extremely important. Whenever you're bringing Ancient Cloak back, you always, always, always bring it back in attack mode, because Ancient Cloak is how we trigger our artifact Dagda the vast majority of the time, and it can only do so by changing from attack to defense mode. So don't summon your Ancient Cloak in defense mode. Your combo will not work if you do. You have to bring it out in attack mode. Alright, now we're going to link summon our Dagda using the Leviair and the Salamangreat Almirage. We'll throw that right there. Okay, now that we've done that, we can activate Ancient Cloak's effect, turning it to defense mode to boost the attack of any dark monster and defense until, or the attack and defense of any dark monster by 800 until the end of the opponent's next turn. We don't really care about that at all, though. We're just trying to activate an effect on the board while we've got Dagda on the board, because that's how Dagda's effect activates. It activates in response to the effect of any card already on the field being activated. So, yep, now we can respond with the Dagda effect that will allow us to set the Scythe directly from our deck. Just go ahead and throw that right there. And then the Cloak resolves again, whatever. We don't actually care about the stat boost, because we're just going to link away the Cloak as well as our Dagda in order to summon the Predaplant Vert Anaconda. And again, you can probably see where things are going from here. We will use the Vert Anaconda effect, pay 2,000, dump our Fusion Destiny off, and summon the DPE. We'll throw that right over there. And now what I usually like to do when I'm set up when I've set up the Scythe lock is I'll then throw this from auto to on, so that way I can dictate exactly when I use the DPE effect. Obviously, we don't want to use it during our turn. We want to use it during the opponent's turn. And honestly, I'll usually even just pop it off during the draw phase. Like, you can try to wait until the opponent plays a card and try to pop, like, their card and then your Scythe. But that leaves you prone to getting Kaiju'd, you know, during the main phase. Your opponent might have, like, a Lava Golem or a Kaiju stack with DPE. Then you're really sad. You can't use your Scythe, and then your opponent can do whatever they want. So, I just tend to like to do this during the draw phase. And it's kind of a debate whether you want to send the Vert Anaconda or the DPE itself. Use arguments to either, right? If you send the Vert Anaconda, you're less prone to just losing because your opponent doesn't have a weak thing to run over, and the defense mode DPE might end up blocking enough damage so that you live. Alternatively, if you're blocking your opponent off from something from the extra deck, they're probably not going to do that much damage to you anyway, so you could argue that you could pop the DPE in the Scythe and then keep the Vert Anaconda. There's a decent chance it'll live, and then you have a Link 2 on your next turn to make plays with. In a vacuum, typically, I don't know, I usually just pop the Anaconda. It usually doesn't matter, but it can matter in, you know, either of those fringe cases that I mentioned. Scythe I usually like to bring out in attack mode just because it's only got 700 defense, and 2200 attack is usually enough to withstand stuff that isn't coming out from the extra deck. So, yeah, so that is how you establish the Scythe lock there with, again, only Torn Scales and, of course, any other random card in your hand to discard. But, of course, there are many ways to establish a Scythe lock in this deck, so let's go ahead and take a look at the next combo. Okay, so this is going to be like the most common, I guess, variant that you'll typically see or think of. What do you think of this, the combos that this deck does? Or I guess you could also call this a quote-unquote optimal board, but this is going to show how we end on a Scythe lock that also includes, of course, the good old Wandering Griffin Rider, Omni Negate. Now, we do have the Water Enchantress in hand to establish that, but we actually don't even need to open Water Enchantress or any of the adventure cards necessarily in order to establish the Wandering Griffin Rider Omni Negate. Like I mentioned before, this deck is rather unique in that it can incorporate the adventure engine directly into its own combos. So we're going to completely disregard that we even have this Water Enchantress in our hand. All that you need to do this are Phantom Knights of Torn Scales, which we are going to search out with Reinforce of the Army here, as well as Silent Boot. So this is the Torn Scales plus Silent Boot combo line, so to speak, there. So again, we're going to search that Torn Scales with the Rhoda. We are now going to normal summon our Torn Scales and special summon the Silent Boots. Now, I mentioned this in the last combo line as well. However, I want to reiterate here that do not use this effect of Torn Scales just yet. We are going to use Torn Scales effect, but do not do it after you have normal summoned the Torn Scales. You don't want to be doing that, because if we do that, then we can't activate Rite of Aramesir. You can't use Rite of Aramesir the turn you've used the effect of a normal summoned monster, and vice versa. So, you know, that means that, of course, we do not want to be using Torn Scales there. That's a very important point. I messed up with it the first few times I tried to combo off with this deck, so I feel the need to always emphasize that there. So, we'll send these two off for Cherubini. I have an Angel of the Burning Abyss. When it comes to the 2-card combos, let's pretty much always start with Cherubini here. Now we can activate the Cherubini effect, and because Cherubini can actually send any level 3 monster, we can even just send the Water Enchantress directly from the deck to the graveyard. So that, of course, is very, very nice, and how we're able to incorporate the combo directly into, or rather the adventure line directly into our combo. So now we can activate the Water Enchantress effect to, of course, get our Rite of Aramesir. And we can use the Rite of Aramesir, summoning the token, and then activating the Fateful Adventure. Now, usually we use the Dracoback off the Fateful Adventure to discard that for the Griffin Rider. We're actually going to do something a little bit different here, again, kind of incorporating our own combo lines in with the Adventure Engine. We're actually going to banish the Silent Boots, and then use that effect to add the Phantom Knight's Wing to our hand. Now that we have banished the Phantom Knight's card from our graveyard, we can summon the Torn Scales back from the graveyard. We're going to throw that right over here. And now from here we can activate the Fateful Adventure effect to now add the Dracoback. Oh no, you want to hit no. I don't know why that, sometimes that'll just trip me up. I really wish that had been worded differently, honestly, because it seems kind of confusing sometimes to hit no there. It feels like you're not going to add it. So now we can use a Fateful Adventure effect, and you can discard either Dracoback or Phantom Knight's Wing. It actually doesn't matter which one, but there are times where you'll end up using the Fateful Adventure to discard the Wing in order to further your own combos. So I definitely do keep in mind that that is possible. But in this particular combo, we're going to end up discarding both around the same time anyway, so we'll just like toss Dracoback here. Of course, we will then activate that to equip the Adventure token, and then we definitely want to summon our Griffin Rider as well. Right over there. And then we can throw that right there. Alright, so now that we have special summoned Torn Scales, now we can activate the effect. And we're going to discard that Phantom Knight's Wing that we just searched. We can use that to go ahead and set up one of the Phantom Knight's monsters in our deck into the graveyard. We'll just go ahead and do Ancient Cloak. Actually, I said one of, as if it could be any of them. It does actually need to be Ancient Cloak. We need to establish that for sure. Alright, now that we have done so, let us go ahead and activate the effect of our Phantom Knight's Wing. We can banish that in order to special summon the Ancient Cloak that we just sent from our graveyard. Now, as always, as ever, we are going to want to summon our Ancient Cloak in attack position. And then from there, we are going to, let's see, Xyz summon for Leviair the Sea Dragon. Although, oh yeah, that's to get the boots back. I was trying to think, because I don't think it's actually necessary to do this part. I'm trying to figure out if that's how I would have normally done it. Sorry, sometimes I will use like notes or a reference when I'm doing these combo guys, just to obviously, you know, make sure that I'm not not like messing up or anything. But I don't know that it's necessary to do this, because I feel like we could have just made the Dogda using this Torn Scales and the Cherubini, right, and then activated the Ancient Cloak and then turned that to defense mode, set this Scythe, and then. But we'll show it off the way that my notes have it here, just to be safe, so to speak. So we'll use the Leviair, get back the Silent Boots, and let's see here. Now we are going to activate our Ancient Cloak in order to search the Shade Brigandine. We can then set, and then of course activate the Shade Brigandine in order to special summon it. And then from there, let's see, we make Dogda using the Brigandine and the Leviair. Oh, I see. We're just gonna use Dogda when we use the Vert Anaconda. So really, we just did that to set the Silent Boots back up in the graveyard, which I mean is definitely not like, you know, bad by any means at all, but could also potentially be done with less resources. It's pretty negligible, I think, either way, the difference. But In any case, yeah, we'll activate the Vert Anaconda's effect, paying 2,000, send the Fusion Destiny. That'll, of course, let us also use the Scythe effect, or the Dogda effect to set up the Scythe, rather. And then we can just throw DPE right over here. So yeah, there are like a couple of different ways you can do that from that point, but that's basically the gist of how you establish this board right here. That is our DPE and Scythe for, of course, the Scythe lock, as well as the Omni Negate from the Wandering Griffin Rider. And again, we didn't even have to open any of the Adventure engine to do that. This board was possible with just the Ancient Cloak and the Silent Boots. That's all we used. As you can see, these are still even the 3 other cards that we had in our hand, so we truly did not need any other cards in our hand to establish this board. And again, this is going to be the kind of a quote-unquote main board that you can end on there. So, alright, let us now take a look at the next combo. Okay, so for this combo line, I wanted to show off what you can do if you open specifically with Torn Scales and Rite of Aramesir, or a way to get to Rite of Aramesir, as we're going to use the Foolish Burial to send a Water Enchantress here. Now, again, as always, we do have other options just due to the nature of our opening hand. Like, we don't have to do this line, but I want to show off this line specifically because this is a different way to set up a Scythe lock that's a little bit different than ways we've seen up to this point. So, the first thing we're going to do is, well, we're going to get to our Rite of Aramesir first. We're going to use Foolish to, of course, send the Water Enchantress, and then activate Water Enchantress's effect, banishing her from the graveyard in order to then add our Rite of Aramesir, which, of course, we will now do. So let's activate the Rite of Aramesir, summoning our Adventure token, and then, of course, placing the Fateful Adventure from our deck. After that, we will then normal summon the Torn Scales, and if we did not already have it in our hand, this is where we would use the Fateful Adventure to then add Dracoback the Rideable Dragon from our deck to our hand. Now we're going to activate the Fateful Adventure's effect, and, you know, 99% of the time you would add the Griffin Rider here for the negate, but, and this is yet another way in which the Adventure engine can actually be used as combo material for Phantom Knights. We're not going to add the Griffin Rider, we're actually going to add the Water Enchantress here. We are still going to send the Dracoback, though. And, of course, use the effect to equip. This isn't going to end up being hugely relevant, but, of course, it's just always a good thing to do. So, because we control the Adventure token, we can activate this Water Enchantress's other effect in order to special summon her out from the hand. Alright, now that we have 2 level 3 monsters on the field, we can, of course, make Cherubni using the Water Enchantress and the Torn Scales that we summoned. Go ahead and throw that Cherubni right there. And now we will activate Cherubni's effect, sending as a cost the, oh, is it in my hand? Oh, it is in my hand. Shoot, the Ancient Cloak. Yeah, we're supposed to send that. I wonder if we'll still be able to do this combo line. Let us send the Ragged Gloves instead. No, we can't because we need to... So normally you would banish Ancient Cloak here to add Silent Boots, but I'm going to kind of improvise a little bit. I don't usually like to do this for the combo guides, but let me just see something real quick. Yeah, that'll cause us to bring Scales back. Oh, but then now we don't have anything. Oh, but we can actually activate. Okay, so again, yeah, normally you would banish the Ancient Cloak that you would send from Cherubni, right, to get the Scales, and then because of Torn Scales effect, you could then... Or because of a, you know, Ancient Cloak's effect, you would then add Silent Boots, which you could then special summon. But let's go ahead and activate Torn Scales now, discarding the Ancient Cloak, and let's send... Let's see, because normally you would send Wings here, right? Or no, you would send a Fog Blade here. We'll just send a Fog Blade, because we're going to get the Silent Boots anyway, right? Let's banish this. So... We're still doing more of the same stuff here. I'm just having to improvise a little bit. We're going to have to improvise a little bit later too, I think. But anyway, yeah, let's special summon the Silent Boots. And now we can overlay the Torn Scales and the Boots for our Leviair. Right, just want to make sure. Now I'm all like thrown out of whack here. I'm just trying to make sure that I'm still doing this right at this point. So, alright, yep, now we can use the Leviair effect in order to detach. We'll detach the Silent Boots here. Bring back the Ancient Cloak. As always, we want to make sure we're bringing the Ancient Cloak back in attack mode. Now we can use the Leviair and the Adventure token to make the artifact Dagda. So like I said, it didn't ultimately matter that we equipped the Dracoback, but definitely still nice too. Alright, and now we're actually not even going to use the Ancient Cloak just yet. We're going to link summon the Rusty Bardish using the Ancient Cloak. Wait, do we really not use Ancient Cloak at this point? Sorry, I'm just like looking at my notes here. I guess we can use it. I mean, I think we can. It doesn't particularly matter. My notes say to do it after Rusty Bardish, but I'm pretty sure you could just do it there as well. But we'll do it according to the notes. We will activate, or we will summon rather, the Rusty Bardish. Now we can activate Rusty Bardish's effect. And then we'll just chain Dagda's effect. Like I said, it doesn't really matter. And we'll definitely set the Scythe there. Now here you would normally send the Ragged Gloves with the Bardish. We already did that. So I guess we'll just send, I don't know, another Silent Boots. Why not? We've already sent everything else. So we're definitely going to set still... I say definitely, again, I want to make sure here. Let's see. We actually are going to set a fog... Oh, that's right. No, I'm remembering how this combo goes. Yeah, we are going to set the Fog Blade. Alright, so now we're going to activate the effect of our Fog Blade. Oops, our Fog Blade in the graveyard. Bringing back any Phantom Knight monster. I don't think it particularly matters which one. We'll just do a Boots. Why not? And then same with the wings. We'll go ahead and get that. Getting back, sure, Torn Scales. Why not? Yeah, it doesn't matter which two you bring back at this point. And now we're going to Xyz summon, actually, our Break Sword here. And we're specifically going to want to summon Break Sword to a zone that Rusty Bardish is pointing to, because when you Xyz summon Dark Xyz monsters to zones that Rusty Bardish points to, you get to blow them up. So we're going to blow up that Break Sword we just summoned. Now we can activate the Break Sword's effect to bring back two of our Phantom Knights as level 4 monsters. So we'll go ahead and do that like so. Although the level isn't going to ultimately really end up mattering, because what we're actually going to do here is summon a Vert Anaconda using those Phantom Knight monsters. Alright, now let's activate our Vert Anaconda's effect. Paying 2,000 life points, of course sending the Fusion Destiny, and now we get to summon our DPE. And there you go. So we've established already the Scythe lock with not only the Rusty Bardish, but even the Dagda and the Predaplant Vert Anaconda left over. But what you could also do, actually, I'm trying to think here. Huh. No, my notes say that you can actually use like the Fog Blade. So the idea is that you can pop the DPE. You can use DPE to pop Fog Blade, and then during your opponent's turn, use Fog Blade to bring back Break Sword. But you have to do that into an open zone that Rusty Bardish points to, which I do not have here. So, oh, duh, no. Of course, the idea would be to activate DPE's effect and pop. And then where's the Break Sword or the Fog Blade there? Pop. Got it. And then we can go in phase, flip this to on. I see. Yeah. So I just had it in mind of you know, popping the DPE itself. What you can do now is use Fog Blade's effect to bring back the Break Sword, like I mentioned, to the opponent's or to the Rusty Bardish's zone here. Now we get to activate the Rusty Bardish F. And boom, we can actually pop our Scythe. I knew there was a way to do that. I just didn't think for a moment there. Sorry about that. Yeah, now we can actually do our Scythe and get the Scythe lock and still have the DPE up. So that's why I wanted to show this combo line specifically, is because it does set up the Scythe lock, but it actually does it in a way that you can even still use DPE's effect during your opponent's turn, even though you've already established the artifact Scythe. So that is a very, very nice way to set that up. And again, that was done with Torn Scales plus, you know, Rite of Aramesir / a way to get to Rite of Aramesir. So, all right, I think that is about just about does it for all the combos I wanted to show. So let's go ahead and move on now to the outro. Alright everybody, thank you very much for watching to the very end of the video like this. I greatly appreciate that. I hope you all were able to learn something new from this video. I definitely did not know some of these combo lines when I first started playing the deck, again a little over a month ago now. So it definitely helps to, again, do my diligent research following up with the deck instead of just taking a cursory glance at it and kind of trying to figure out on my own, / think I know how it already worked. When, yeah, there are actually many nuances, and this is true of not just this deck, but of every deck, right? Of every single deck. So, yeah, in addition to being grateful for, of course, watching to the end, I'm also grateful to those of you who are commenting, particularly those of you who are, you know, more seasoned Phantom Knight players such as myself. If there are any variations in the combo lines I could have done or any other combo lines with this particular variant, feel free to throw them in the comments, and that way we can all kind of learn together, all that community-based learning. Gotta love it. And yeah, if you're subscribing, that's obviously not only a great way to support the channel, but means a lot to me as well. Also gets you notifications of when my videos drop, which does happen every day. So if you subscribe, you do get daily Master Duel content out of me. But yeah, I think that's going to go ahead and do it for this one. So once again, thank you for watching. This is Hexlex. I'm signing out. Hope you guys have a fantastic day.